Hello, everyone. Welcome to I Have Comic Issues. And tonight we are not doing comic channel origins. This is going to be the first episode that I'm doing of Comics to Cash. And I'm going to try to alternate it. One week I'm going to do comic channel origins. The next week I'm going to do Comics to Cash. And tonight I am interviewing Ron from Ron's Comic Closet. I'm sure you've heard the name before because I mention it all the time. Ron's Comic Closet is the sponsor for I Have Comic Issues. So without any further ado, let me bring in Ron real quick. Hello, Ron. Welcome to
Ryan, how are you?
Oh, pretty good. And we already got some people that have popped into the chat real quick. We got Cliff on comics. I don't know if you know Cliff, but you really should. He's a fun guy on YouTube. And we also got the moderator extraordinaire on YouTube live streams, Christina Payne. Welcome in, Christina. Thank you for being here. So I want to just say thank you for taking the time to be here on this Thanksgiving weekend, Ron, to be on the Comics to Cash live stream. Real quick, how long have you been in the comic book or been dealing with comic books in one way or another?
So, as far as selling comics goes, I started off selling probably in the early to mid 90s while I was still in the Air Force. I'm retired Air Force. And while I was an airman out in San Antonio, Texas, I got this grand idea that I wanted to sell comics. And I found a way to I actually used my own collection that I had. It wasn't a great collection or anything like that. And I started doing back then in the 90s, if anybody knew anything about the comic scene, it was exploding back then. And I started doing local comic book shows and things like that, and they were everywhere in San Antonio, mainly between San Antonio and Austin. They used to have them in hotel rooms and things like that. And I started slowly getting into it. Found a way to get set up with the distributors back then. Of course, there was Diamond, then there was, I believe, Capital City, and what was the other one? Heroes something, or Heroes World or something like that, when Diamond lost Marvel, etc. So there was a lot of stuff that went on even back then in the 90s with distributors. And eventually ended up with a little shop in a flea market. And then I moved out of that into another place called Collector City, which was similar to, but it was similar to a flea market type of setting, but it was all collectors of different things. It was very niche type of situation, comic books and toys and sports cards. So it wasn't just a general flea market. It was more geared towards the collector. And I had a little shop inside there. Then unfortunately, I had, if you're in the military, you end up PCSing someplace else. I ended up having to sell all that stuff off, which to this day I regret, because I had just bought some pretty big collections and things like that. And I was really getting into it, but life goes on and I had to sell everything. And then it wasn't for darn near, 15, 20 years later. I have always wanted to get back into it somehow. And then as the internet grew in popularity and things like that, I was like, okay, well, let's see what we can do. And then about 5 years ago, I guess it's been about 5 years, 2018, I decided to make the formal jump into it. And started Ron's Comic Closet online. And that's where I've been ever since. And so that's kind of how it all started.
And you started collecting comics when you were a kid?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't a big collector. I was a big reader of comics. And I think that, I remember going to 7-Elevens and finding comics just in 7-Elevens as a kid. I remember finding those early Frank Miller Daredevils sitting on there. I remember always reading in the editorials and in the letter section, talking about, the Frank Miller, the 158, and I could never find. I remember going around to every 7-Eleven I could in the area trying to find that 158, that first Frank Miller. And even back then it was popular. I remember early John Byrne Avengers. I grew up reading. loved all those things. Because back then, you could read all who the artists were, and I think it was a different time. I would go to bookstores, the bookstores all had comics in them and things like that. So I was mainly, a reader of comics, and I did a lot of silly things. I would cut the comics, cut little characters out in the comics, and I would glue them onto my dresser or something else, but I just love the comics, and later on, I started collecting. I got back into it, later on, probably as in high school, I think,
Okay.
and later on, especially in the 80s, when I saw Todd. I just randomly walked into a comic book store and saw Todd McFarlane's art
Okay.
and on Spider-Man for the first time, and I was hooked again. And it just kind of started from there, and I started collecting, all of his stuff, and um, so yeah, so it's always been I've always had a love affair with comics, one way or the other. Early cartoons, the early Spider-Man, all the reruns of Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four. So, I grew up on all those bad cartoons, and we look and say, "Oh my gosh, they're terrible now." Well, back then they were fantastic as a kid on a Saturday morning.
Right. So you said you first started off in like a flea market type situation, and then you PCS'd. So how
Mhm.
long were you out for once you PCS'd? Or were
Oh goodness, it was probably a good 15 years. It was a good while.
okay.
Almost until I retired, just about, from the Air Force. I was still buying comic books, here and there and things like that, and trying to figure a way to get back into it. And I was slowly relearning how the business was working. I had a good understanding of it from the dealing with distributors and things like that early on, and the ordering process. So not much had really changed as far as that goes. So I'd always been kind of had my toe in there, but just really wasn't quite ready to jump in quite yet. And I finally needed, I wanted to do something else. So I said, yeah, let's try this online thing. And then, of course, figuring out how to build a website and how to do all those things. And so, yeah, but it was a good while. So,
So would you say, or back when you were doing the flea market, were you back issues mainly, or was it new releases and back issues, or a
it
combination?
was both. It was
Okay.
primarily new issues. I've always been a new issue um, retailer for the most part, and that mainly it's what my online store now is primarily new issues, and that's where I make the majority of my sales from is new issues. One of the things I specialized in, and I found is like variant covers and things like that. A lot of people, you love them or you hate them. I've
Right.
always found that if you carry something like that, people buy them. And so I've always made it a point. It was kind of a lesson I learned. I used to be, for the longest time, prior to me joining the Air Force, I was a manager of a very large record store, Peaches Music and Video, or Records and Tapes, depending on if you lived in the South Florida area. And one of their concepts was we carry everything, you know. And you could go into one of those stores and you could find, just about any type of music, any type, all the artists and for all the genres. And I wanted to carry that over into new comics. And what I found was people appreciate the fact that I carry variants. They appreciate the fact that I carry independent comics, even the strange. I always buy one or two copies, even if eventually they don't sell or something like that. I carry them because um, it- I think it enhances what we do. I've always said if I'm going to be a comic book store, I'm going to be a comic book store. I'm not going to be one that just picks and chooses. I'm going to carry everything so that I can bring in the most customers and satisfy their needs, to bring in the widest audience
Right.
possible. Is kind of the concept that I've, kind of had with, especially with new comics, with back issues and things like that. We do have them. Um, I have a lot of them that just aren't listed right now. We go
Okay.
through them, and that's just part of a time issue
I mean,
right
I
now.
think that anybody could tell from just watching the little bit of the stream so far is that behind you, you have a lot of comic books.
Yeah, this is just one room. I work out of the house primarily. Yeah, and we counted up. I think we are up to, let me tell you the highest number. Just in my home alone, we have
Hey,
379
Dan.
long boxes that are numbered that we have in inventory. Um, and that does not count the all the back issues that we have that are not in stock, and that doesn't count everything that we have in storage. We just recently, I just had to put a whole bunch of stuff in storage, so we have another, probably, I don't know, 50,000 books probably sitting in storage right now, that we have. So we're trying to get everything out of here because you've been to my house, Bryant.
Right. I was going to say,
It's
I can verify to everybody that he has a hell of a lot of comic books. I mean,
mhm,
at least it was three rooms that I saw
right.
that were full of comic books. So,
Yeah, and it's getting worse. That's why we had to recently pull everything out of a lot of books out. We pulled, I think, 20 or 30 long boxes out. We took a lot of stuff. Actually, we took a lot of stuff out of inventory recently, off the website, so that we could put back in later on, because
okay.
we were having some inventory issues. So we took a lot of older stuff out, and so that we're going to put back in here. But yeah, we have a lot. We have a lot to go through.
All right. So I guess since we're talking about selling already,
Mhm.
what platforms do you use to sell your comics and why specifically? What are the pros and cons of those platforms that you sell on?
Yeah, so primarily I have my own website, ronscomiccloset.com, and that serves as a central hub primarily for everything that I do, um, because it has all my inventory. And then the other major platform is eBay, and all of my inventory that I have, on my, um, website is also on eBay as well, and it syncs up, and I have everything set up like this way. I have it all set up that way as well. I also sell on I have an app on the Shop app, okay, because I have a Shopify website, so I also sell on the Shop platform as well, and so everything is synced there. So I have everything set up so everything is synced to these major platforms, major comic selling platforms. And believe it or not, Shop actually has. I'm actually starting to build up a pretty decent following on Shop, and I'm getting a lot more sales from it as far
Okay.
as that goes. Um, so eBay, my website. I also sell on Whatnot. I do live auctions on Whatnot, and I have a shop on Whatnot as well. Um, so I like to sell through my website, obviously, because, well, there's no fees. We all love that, if you're a reseller. But eBay by far is where I sell the most books because, like it or not, whether you like eBay or you don't like eBay, their fees a little higher, but they've got the most eyeballs on your product. Okay.
Right.
Um, and I think what you have to do is you have to try to be the most reputable seller that you can out there, and you have to build up an audience and you have to build the trust with your audience. And eBay is a tough place to sell. We don't always get it perfect. We're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. We do mess up, but I think overall, we do very well on eBay. Whatnot, we've done okay with. Whatnot's becoming a little bit tougher. We have good time. We have good shows. We have bad shows, but we try to have a good time with everybody. We have a lot of loyal customers who come out, for all our shows, and we greatly appreciate each and every single one of them. But it really depends. A lot of higher, we could sell a lot, uh, uh, higher dollar books a lot of times on Whatnot, especially, like during a live show. Um, we do flash sales, so we're not really auctioning them off. It's like someone will ask about a book. We have a policy on our when we do a live show. If you ask about a book, we'll show the book to you, and then we'll run it as a flash sale. Go 10 to 25% off, sometimes more, depending on what it is. If we've had
Right.
something in inventory for a long time, and we go ahead and, we do that. So it's like, we had a show last night, and it's like we sold a third printing of Batman 423. We sold, sold an Amazing Spider-Man. Oh my gosh, what was it? First appearance of Mary Jane. I forgot 43. Was it 43?
Okay.
Amazing Spider-Man 43. The flash sale on that sold it. You ended up selling it for $100. So I had it at 125. I sold it for 100 just because somebody asked.
Right.
You know, um, so we had a lot of interest. We got a Predator #1 up there. Everybody wanted to pay me next to nothing for. But if we, um, but that's the good and the bad with it. Sometimes you sell and whatnot as well, Bryant. So you kind of understand some of that.
Right.
But yeah, so but we just like to have fun
Yeah.
with it on whatnot, and
So,
so but
like,
those are the
so
platforms we sell on.
eBay probably has the highest fees, right?
Correct.
But you have to do the least amount of advertising for eBay.
That's correct.
And
So
then
uh,
Whatnot's probably right in the middle. You still get a lot
mhm,
of eyeballs. The fees are a little bit less. And then
right.
for your website, there are no fees other than your merchant account or your payment
Correct.
processing, but you got to do a
Mhm.
lot more advertising or work to try to get people to the website, correct?
That's correct. So,
Uh,
yeah, so it's it's good and bad. So,
right.
you know,
Okay.
so
So it's like a sliding scale, just work versus money.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of right now I'm partial to. I have some stuff on the Whatnot marketplace
Mhm.
because
I do as well.
instead of
Mhm.
eBay, just because the fees are a lot less.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I have right now. Actually, we're like for my shows on whatnot. I try every week to put at least 10 new books up.
okay.
And those automatically go into my marketplace shop and then I sell them, and I sell books throughout the week. Sometimes on the whatnot marketplace as
Yeah.
well. So that works out.
Yeah. I've sold
People
an
can go
Amazing
in and
Spider-Man 17 on the
mhm,
marketplace. So
yeah. So,
yeah.
and you'll get offers for it. You'll get, it's like, I just sold a Spider-Man 13, the McFarlane one, newsstand copy. Just sold one the other day. I sold a ton of Invincibles,
Right.
just marketplace orders. But yeah, we hit, I keep about, right now, I've got a little over 200 and almost close to 300 books out there in my marketplace shop. So,
On the new releases, you sell most of those on your website, correct?
right. Yeah. And they go right to eBay too. So the way we
Okay.
do it is, generally for new releases. So for a lot of my customers, generally on Tuesdays, I've been trying to get them out. I post all the new releases for the following week that are only available on my website for that short period of time, and then like I believe on Friday nights I then post everything. So I give my regular customers the opportunity who buy from me on my website. To purchase from my website from me directly so they get first crack at it before it goes out to eBay. So
Okay.
just one of the things we do. So because I have a lot of loyal customers who go directly to my website and they go ahead and they buy early from me. So they pre-order early from me.
Okay. So, in your website is your preferred platform, correct?
It is. It is. I would love to sell everything through my website, but it's
Right.
it's not feasible in and it's not feasible in the comic book marketplace unless you're a massive seller. But even the big sellers that are out there, all of them have eBay shops. All of them do. Whether it's my comic shop, Mile High Comics, or they all sell through eBay. So that tells you something. You
Right.
know. Um,
So it's in your website is on Shopify, correct?
right. It is a
And I'm
Shopify.
sure
Yes.
you've done plenty of research. You recommend Shopify as uh, a good e-commerce
It
site?
is, it is. It's the one everybody's building apps for. It's the one
Okay.
that everybody is I was previously on, it used to be called, it was 3D Cart, and then it changed to something else. I actually liked their, website better from a technical standpoint and a a process of how you built you could build the website, and it was a little more friendly as far as building it. It was a little more what you see is what you get type of movements. Whereas Shopify, you actually you have to know some type of coding in some respects.
Okay.
If you really want to get down to the nitty gritty into a lot of things that I want to do. But or you have to buy an app to do it. Whereas the 3D cart one, which I think is Shift 4 payments now, it's switched over to a new owner. But they had a lot of stuff that was built in, and it was actually a better website. But I needed I needed a specific app that wasn't being built for it. I use a subscription service called Manage Comics, and they have a great service, and it helps me input all of my books in every week because they do all the work. So I pay for that, but they only build for Shopify. So, and I was spending hours every week, trying to upload new books, and now it takes me 15 minutes versus taking me a full day or longer to upload new books into a website. So it's a trade-off,
And
but I
everybody,
would
just so
recommend
you know,
Shopify. Yeah.
yeah.
So I would recommend it though.
Just so you know, everybody, Ron has another job. He has a full-time job on
Yes,
top
I do.
of being a comic book seller. So being able to cut out 8 hours of work is probably well worth whatever the
Mhm.
membership or subscription fee is for that particular app to
Oh
get
yeah.
that amount of time back. So
Oh no, it's been I don't think I could operate without it anymore. It's that valuable to me.
uh,
So
so are there in the integration between Shopify and eBay and uh, eBay? I mean, that's pretty seamless. Hey, Wellbore, how are you doing?
yeah, absolutely. There's an application called Marketplace Connect that and it'll actually if you it'll do more than just eBay. It'll actually if you want to sell stuff on Amazon or Google Shops, that's another project for the future. I might try to get it on, but with Google Shops and stuff like that, and a little more nuanced product information that you have to have. But
Okay.
I use an app called Marketplace Connect, and I have everything pretty much standardized and set up so that once all I have to do is once I have the products imported in and everything, it's really just I can like this past week, it took me, you know, 5 minutes to upload, what 500 or this week was only about 400, about 400, separate listings onto eBay. So
Okay.
just a few universal settings, and boom, it's out there. I have templates already set up. Everything is standardized across the board, uh, and that's really important to have. Yeah, standardization across everything to make life much easier.
I wish they would develop a faster upload way for photos into Whatnot.
Yeah, that's um that's the biggest challenge I have right now with Whatnot is I can you do the CSV upload into Whatnot, and you can get all the
Right.
information in there, but then you have to have all, then I have to have a separate we got to have a separate window open here and another window open here, and then I'm dragging and dropping afterwards, so or you can do it, just sit there on the phone and try to do it as you're going and take the picture, but the pictures never come out right when they try to use with the internally within the Whatnot app. So that's always kind of a so yeah, I have I use AI a lot now. It's like I actually take photos of things, and I have AI generate all the titles and stuff for me, and
Okay.
it'll give me descriptions, it'll tell me key things, and then I have it generate a CSV file for me for Whatnot, and then I just cut and paste it into Whatnot CSV format, and it's amazingly fast now.
Okay.
So, and then all I gotta do is put the price in, and then of course, like problem with the pictures, you still gotta do them one by one, unfortunately.
Yeah. But because on Whatnot, you don't sell as many new issues or new
No,
releases there as well.
yeah, I've only tried doing new issues one time on Whatnot, and unfortunately was a disaster. Um, so we didn't sell anything that day. We tried to do a new comic book day show, and it didn't work out quite well.
Right.
So, um, but we tried. We gave it a shot, and it didn't work. So, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So, but we
Yeah.
gave it a shot. So some
It's
other
not the,
sellers are very good at it, and they have their, but it just wasn't for us.
yeah. It's not the first time I heard that quote today.
Hmm. So.
Um, so how did you decide what to sell versus what to keep in your personal collection? Or do you still even have a personal collection?
I really don't have a personal collection anymore. I mainly the stuff that I keep. I have a lot of graphic novels now, so any of the
Okay.
stuff that I have, I read a lot. I've collected in graphic novel form. Um, my daughter and I, what we do now is anything that I have my daughter and we have what we do like comic book bingo, I guess. So as we're going out, we always try to find stuff. If I have the opportunity to buy a book that I've always wanted or something like that, I go ahead and I buy it, and then just to kind of say yes, I've owned it, and then I sell it.
Okay.
So that's the type of thing that if I happen to see something, I go out there. It's like I finally like one of my personal Grail comics that I haven't sold it yet, but was a Scud #1 first printing, and I actually got one here. It was a little while ago. I still have it, and it was not that I buy. I buy a lot of stuff on Whatnot. It was someone had it in a box. It was a short box sale. The guy was going through, and I said that's a Scud #1 in there. And sure enough, when I got the box, it was a Scud #1, and it was signed. Um, so it was signed by Rob Schrab. So it was one of those weird things. And then when you go out and you buy it, and then sometimes I buy a book and I just go, okay, now I've owned one. Um, now I'm going to sell it. So those are the types of things I look for. So if I see them, it's like or certain books I always buy if I have the opportunity to. Um, so it's just really depends, but I really don't collect too much anymore. I don't have any room. If you can look behind me, I don't have any room for anything. So I've got a whole clean, just in my bedroom, like half my closet I think is graphic novels and um, stuff like that. So.
All right. Um, so excuse the cat.
Mhm.
um, so, so you sell most of what you have. I mean,
Mhm.
so it's all your personal collection though until you actually sell it. So you can,
That's right.
so
It's all my.
so in other words, you have a large personal collection that you're willing to let go of for a certain fee.
That's correct. That is correct. So, well, it actually belongs to the business. It belongs to Ron's Comic Closet LLC, but so it
Yes.
technically belongs to the business. But yes.
Um, Now, here's a question that I personally kind of interested in is um, when you source comics, where do you source them from and what are you looking for?
So, where do I source them from? Anywhere you can get them. And I think you always got to keep your eyes open. It's like I think we were talking, before the show. I had someone knock on my door, sold me a collection of, some low to mid grade bronze horror and war books, which we just sold on Whatnot the other night. You got to be on Whatnot. I watch Whatnot auctions all the time. I buy a lot on Whatnot, and you just got to look for those deals. Your local comic shop. A lot of times, you can find some great things at your local comic shop if you know what you're looking for, and you're willing to sometimes, speculate on a little bit. Um, every place, it's like I go to antique stores, I go to just about any place. You just got to keep your eyes open because you just never know what you're going to run into, and you always have to be on the hunt for stuff. It's a never ending uh, I think that's part of the fun of this hobby, even from a seller's perspective, and even from someone who's buying as a seller. It's always great. You're digging through a dollar book and you find something. Oh my gosh, um, it's no problem. It's like I still remember I was at I bought something in a local comic book store here one night, and you froze up there, Brian. Oh, did we lose you? There you go. Lost you for a second.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. That's the first time that
Yeah.
happened.
Okay. You froze up
Okay.
and then we lost you. What I was saying is, like, I remember one time I went into my daughter and I were in a local comic book store, and um, just happened to be flipping through some dollar books, and we found, I think it was a Airboy #4 Dave Stevens cover. It had a dollar
Okay.
on it. The thing was in immaculate condition. I mean, just immaculate. And we turned around and we were having a whatnot show that night, and I turned around and I sold it for $30 to someone. So you always have to look, you know, and sometimes it's a matter of look. Sometimes just going into your local comic book store, sometimes going into these places, and even if you don't buy anything, take a mental inventory of what they have, because you never know in this business. You have to take advantage of. It ebbs and flows. It's like the stock market in a lot of ways. It goes up and goes down. Comics go up and down. So you just have to figure out what it is. It's like I've got books that it's like, okay, I'm gonna hold on to these, and they've turned out, um, it's like I just sold a bunch of books that I picked up in dollar bins that I've been holding on to for a while. So I sold three of them, that I paid, 3 books I made like $90 on last night, that I picked up in dollar bins 6, 7 months ago,
Right.
you know, um, just because I had them. you know, and so you always have to be on the lookout for stuff. Um, so
What since we're talking
sourcing
about
is,
back,
yeah,
go
for
ahead.
back issues. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was saying since we're talking about back issues, and you sell
Hmm.
most of your back issues like we're on whatnot, correct?
Hmm.
Or kinda.
Yeah, I do sell them on eBay as well. I do sell like, on the website and eBay, so I do have a bunch listed. eBay actually does pretty well with a lot of back issues. Um, as far as that goes, it's a little more of a slow burn as far as that goes, but I can some things I can hold. I don't mind holding on to. I think there's a patience. There are a lot of people who, from a retail perspective, you can look at it like, you want to constantly turn your inventory. Okay. In this business, I think you have to kind of weigh the two things. For like new books and things like that, I want to turn as much as I can as quickly as I can. There's going to be a hot book next week. I always tell everybody next week there's going to be a new hot book every single week. But when it comes to back issues, a lot of times, sometimes I don't mind holding on to those a little while longer, because you just never know. Because it's like I had this, what was it? It was like a real low print I think it was a Godzilla in Hell #1. It was a variant cover or something like that. And I had just put this thing up, and I don't know how many uh, eBay. Everybody wanted to offer me, but nobody wanted, you know what I mean? Nobody wanted to really pay, what it was worth. And I just told her, hey, I just put this up. I'm gonna hold out for this for a little while, right? And I got a lot of really low offers on it,
Right.
and I was just patient for it, and it was kind of funny, and I patiently waited about another week, and then I got full price for it. Someone bought it. So, and I think that's a lesson that you have to learn. It's kind of, if you can hold on to it, hold on to it, and be patient with it, especially if something that there's a lot of interest in, and especially an older back issue or something that's low print. Um, I'm surprised. It's like all of a sudden I'll have this old, ratio variant that I've had sitting around for a few years. and all of a sudden it'll sell and I'll get full price for it. So it's a strange thing, and then there are other things that just don't sell, and
All right.
so be
Um,
patient, especially with
and,
back issues.
okay. And for selling on Whatnot, is any tips or you would give on the? I know it's a process, and you got to build your
Mhm.
following. I guess is consistency and like trying to do a show at the same time. Probably one of the best things that you can do for selling on Whatnot.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's one of the things that I wish I was doing mine. I've been doing mine at, Saturdays, every Saturday or every other Saturday, as far as that goes. I think, the things that I've noticed, the biggest sellers and the ones who are gaining the followings and stuff like that are the ones who are doing multiple shows every week. Um, they are constantly out there. They're constantly running shows and things like that. So, and they're the ones who have this, and they also do a lot more social media type of things and like that. So, yeah, it just takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of just have to keep going with it and
Okay.
just run those consistent shows. And it's like I still struggle with it. Like I said, it's a time thing, and you just try to carve out the time to do it, you know.
Somebody, Barbarian Kung Fu thinks it's funny when I hear folks comment about the dirty flippers. Yet we all have to buy comics from someone. Why not our friends? Yeah.
Exactly, and I think it's kind of interesting. I don't consider myself, I'm not, I do I flip comics? Yes, I buy back issues. I buy collections. I buy, do I flip comics? I don't know. I buy directly from the distributors. Does that mean I flip comics? I'm an online retailer, and there are people out there who there are people out there who could be considered, like dirty flippers or whatever, and there are some unscrupulous individuals out there. And I hope those folks change their ways, and because there's a better way to do it, and I
Right.
think it hurts the community when those folks do those types of things. I think that when we all kind of band together and um, you know get rid of those types of folks by not buying from them, we'll be much better off. But
Right.
I don't think everybody's out there. Um, I think people are just trying to do the best they can. You know, you know. So we all want to make money at this. We all want to have fun. Doing it at the same time. This is a business. I run it as a business. Um, so
Okay. And do you? I guess most of your focus has been on new releases, correct? I mean, you don't sell as many slabbed or graded books, or do you sell those on eBay or?
I have very few any graded books. I've never been a huge, um, yeah, I've never been a huge fan of graded books. I have my opinion on, has always been, um, I think personally, I think grading books is a double-edged sword. I think it has, in some ways, hurt the hobby, and in some ways, it's enhanced the hobby. I have no problem with anyone who loves their graded books. I don't have any, issue with it. I've sold graded. I have a few right now. I have, I've got an X-Men #2 graded. I've got an ASM 300 graded, but I maybe have 10 graded books altogether,
Okay.
something like that. I mean, and the only reason I have even the ones I have is because it's like the X-Men 2 and the ASM 300. I bought those from a guy who knocked on my door, and wanted to sell them. I was like, okay, well, I will buy those from you, along with a bunch of other raw books that I got as part of a deal. So, um, is one of those things you can't pass up. But I think it's I think with grading and graded books, there's an expectation that a raw book is somehow lesser than it is. I think grading in some respects for older books for preservation and those types of things is probably a good thing. Um, but
Right.
the expectation now is that if it's not a 9.8, it isn't worth anything. And believe me when I tell you, as someone who looks at thousands of brand new comics every single week, um, a 9.8 coming directly from from distributors is harder than you think it is. Okay.
Okay.
So, and I think this, people's expectations are so much higher now for a comic book. And I always tell people, comic books are made of paper. You can put your finger, you can grab it with your hands and you can put a dent in it, and now it's not a 9.8. It's paper. And we have to have an expectation of it. It's like even when we're shipping, we're so careful about how we ship and how we handle books. It's like I can't even you have no idea how many just returns or refunds we've had to do, because even though we state that new books are probably only going to be a 9.0, going to be in a range from a 9.0 to a 9.8. People, oh my gosh, my book had a little ding in it. And to me, it's not worth the hassle. We just either refund their money or we have them return it. Because there's such an expectation because of how prevalent grading has become, and the expectation that everything has to be a certain grade. It's like worthless to people. So yeah, so it's good and it's bad. It's enhanced the hobby because I think it's brought new people into the hobby. It's given people jobs, and yeah, I agree with that. And the fact that near mint means 9.8, way too many people. Yeah, near mint starts at 9.0. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that that's you know, so expectations I think are too high with certain, especially new books, um, as far as that goes. But hey, more power to anybody. If you want to get your books graded, I'm all for it. If you want to do that, that's your business. That's how you want your collection to go. Um, but I think if I have a 9.8 raw and a 9.8 graded, personally, I think they should both be the same price. I don't think there should be any difference, because I've seen some 9.8 graded books and I go, how the heck did that become a 9.8?
Right.
I think we've all seen examples of that. So I think there's too much subjectivity, and I think grading should be some generalized rules and for everybody, not just what CGC, PSA, or CBCS says. You know, so um, I think it also falsely inflates the price of some books.
I think I had an idea for a video I want to do sometime
Hmm.
next in the coming year. Would be try to use like Chat GPT to do some grading estimates based upon CGC's grading evaluations, and
Hmm.
then see what it thinks it should be, and then send it in and see what it actually gets.
Yeah, I've actually created a project within Chat GPT that actually will grade books based on images.
Right.
So, and did I tell you about that? I can't remember if
Yeah,
I
no,
talked
you
about
did,
that.
but I think it'd
Yeah.
be pretty cool to sit, do that,
Oh,
mark what you
yeah.
think it should be,
Hmm.
and then as a video, send it in, and when you get it back, you say, "Well, this is what ChatGPT said it should have been, or what
Hmm.
they thought it was. Let's see what CGC said it was, and see if it's up or down or the
Right.
same." It'd be a
Exactly.
pretty interesting idea,
Yeah, you'd have to
and
do a lot in
Barbarian
Chat
Frontier agrees.
GPT. Yeah, I think with Chat GPT, I think based on my experience with it, it definitely needs you definitely have to have it trained. Um, it needs a lot of information as far as that goes. to get it right. And you have to have very high quality pictures and things like that. And you have to have the
Right.
right types of pictures and everything else. The
Me.
right angles, you got to have it. One of the things I found, like where you're taking a picture, especially if you have like a lot of finger bends and stuff like that. If you take a flat picture, it doesn't show up, but you have to kind of get where your light's angled and it shows all the like little defects on it and stuff like that. So there are some limitations that you have to work with it. Um, there's actually a CGC book
Right. Yeah.
that you can buy out there, Barbarian. That you can actually, was it Barbarian Kung Fu? Yeah,
Yeah.
there's actually a book that you can actually buy that's published by CGC that will actually um, take you kind of step by step through, how they grade and things like that. So it's actually a pretty good book
Yeah. No, I was thinking about
as
trying to
well.
like get that digital copy of that
Mhm.
book uploaded into the
Yeah, I have
GPT
a hard
project.
copy of it. Yeah, I have a
Yeah.
hard copy of it.
Uh,
So,
oh, I'm sure
but
on the internet somewhere there's a, digital copy.
yeah. No, it's actual published book by CGC.
Right.
It tells you how they grade and what they look for in each individual thing as far as that goes. Now, if they have a published internal book, that's a whole nother matter. What I'm talking
Right.
about, there is an actual published, CGC publication
Right.
that it's for the public, so.
Oh, no, yeah, no, I'm saying, but to get that
Oh,
particular book, you could,
mhm.
if you can find the digital copy of it to upload into GPT,
Oh, yeah,
so
absolutely. Yeah,
so
yeah.
it can
So
have
I was
all that
thinking,
for reference.
yeah, that or Overstreets, just, take pictures of each Overstreet,
Yeah,
um, Overstreet's grading guide as well. I think that would be kind of fun. Put it in
yeah,
Chat GPT and say, hey, look at this. And
yeah.
so
Go
Chat
off of this
GPT is pretty
information.
interesting when it comes to
Yeah.
that.
Um, so how do you price your comic books? Do you use cover price or eBay sold listings, or do you just use your own experience with your years of collecting knowledge?
So a little bit of both. Cover price is what I use right now. I also use Overstreet Access sometimes. Um, just to kind of see what they have. So I have subscriptions to both.
Okay.
Cover price I mainly use because I think you can get a good idea, um, primarily because they kind of give you the average of what it's selling for, so you can do that. But eBay's still the biggest indicator of what something is going to sell for.
Right.
I'll use the sold listings. Um, So,
But
but
isn't
even though something's sold, I think you have to balance it between what it last sold for and what it's currently listing and how many listings there are as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
So you have to kind of, it's like I found a book the other day. I was trying to figure out what to price it at, and there were no listings on eBay. And I found some solds, and I was like, okay, but there's no listings now. And I know it's a rare book, it's just one of those books that I was like, well, what do I price this at? So you kind of have to go, okay, if it hasn't sold, the last one it sold for was this much, but there are now no listings. You kind of have to go, okay, let's just put it out there and see what happens. And you kind of guess at a price
no.
sometimes.
Is on the cover price, is that they get most of their information from eBay, don't they?
I think they get a lot of their information from eBay. And if I remember correctly, they're tied into My Comic Shop. They might even be tied into. I've noticed they started promoting Third Eye Comics as
Okay,
well. So I think they may be getting some data from them. But I think My Comic Shop. I think they get some data from them
okay,
as far as sold goes. So I'm not positive on that, but a lot of their stuff is it's like an average of. I'd have to look at their site again, but I think last was um, wherever they get their stuff from. But I think a lot of it's eBay though, because it's
all
the
right.
easiest to find.
So But you mostly use either cover price or eBay to do your.
Yeah, as kind of as a starting point, and then
Okay.
then I price and I go, okay, how fast do I want to move this? I found that me personally, if I don't want to be the lowest price, and I don't want to be the highest price.
Right.
So because
And you still want to be
honestly,
in the black too.
yes, that's exactly right. So, you want to get it, you want to put it out there at what you think is a reasonable price for people. And also, I offer, on my website and on eBay, it's always you buy 3 items, you get 10% off. 5, you get 15% off automatically anyway. So if you're going to buy multiple books, so I have to kind of factor some of those things in a little bit. So I try to go with a median price just to make sure that because if you sell too low um, just to get rid of something, you're not doing yourself any favors. You try to sell too high, you're holding on to stuff too long.
Right.
Um, so
Um, so do you on your do you do any cleaning and pressing for books that you sell online or
I
uh,
do. Not as much as I used to right now, but I try to. A lot of the books, mainly. Um, Do I sell on Instagram? Yes, I used to. I'm trying to. I used to have an Instagram shop, but for whatever reason, it's not. It's. I'm having an issue with it linking, but that's my next foray is going into doing like claim sales on Instagram. So that's going to be my next thing. We're trying to figure out how to quite do that and how to set all that up. Um, as far as getting payments and invoicing people and things, if we're going to do it through the store, if we're going to do it through PayPal. But yeah, so we're going to work on that here soon.
um
That's something I've been discussing with my employees and my daughter, and um, figuring that out. So claim sales will be the next thing. But back to your point on cleaning and pressing, yeah. So one of the I do press my own stuff a lot of times. I'll do quick presses on if like we get a new book or something like that and has just a little crunch or something on it. We can do a quick press that'll come out with just without having to hydrate pages and things like that. I'll do that. But like older books and stuff like that, I'll do like a lot of quick dry cleaning and stuff like that, especially on the back, especially the old books, and they get kind of dirty. We just try to clean them up real fast, cotton swabs and erasers and absorbing sponges and the absorbing putty and stuff like that. We'll clean books up and things like that a lot of times before, if I don't have time to press them, just to make them look a lot better. You can imagine what a little cotton round, how well it can make a book look if it's dirty, um, and clean stuff up. Okay. Yeah,
I've
we're
seen
gonna
some.
try to do some claim sales and stuff and do that as kind of a live show, I think. So we've been watching how some other people do it, trying to get the best ideas and uh trying to find we're gonna try to find our how we do that. So but thank you. I appreciate that advice.
And I think you have over 1,000 followers now on Instagram, so you can do
I do.
Instagram
It
live.
took me forever. It took me forever to hit over 1,000. Then I keep
Yeah.
losing a couple, and then it's like,
I know you can. I know some people are doing claim sales on YouTube also,
hmm
but
they
you would
do.
have to go through the process of building up that audience
Right.
to get
hmm
seen.
Yeah.
But
So,
um,
but I think
I know that
Instagram will be the best. Yeah. So,
I know that James from Mint Hunter Comics, I know he does a
hmm
Sunday YouTube claim sale, but he has a process like you're talking about, like with PayPal and like he
hmm
does a form through Google Forms or something like that for the information. So
right.
you might want to watch one of those one day to see how he's
Okay.
doing it and
That
that.
sounds good.
But um, so what's been your biggest flip or most memorable sale that you can recall?
Um, goodness. I have a lot of little ones. I mean, um, it's kind of like I said, it's like about that airboy, buying, finding it for $1, selling it for $30. Um, I found, if you're familiar with the comic book, The Pro, right? It's an image comic. It's
Okay.
essentially it's about a superhero prostitute. If you ever find it, it's actually I think it was done by Garth Ennis. So there you go.
Okay.
But I found that in a dollar bin one day. Um, Sold it for 75 bucks. So that was
So
a
do we,
pretty good,
quick question. Do we shop at the same dollar bins?
huh? I think we do shop at the same dollar bins, but probably just different times.
Just so y'all know, folks, Ron and I are in the same area, so that's why.
Yeah. So,
Um,
yeah, I mean, I found, oh, it was, probably the best was, I found, 2 a complete set. I think it was the Goon, the first series of the Goon, and the second series, like 1 through I can't remember, I think the first series, like, 1 through 4, and the other one's, like, 1 through 3 or something like that. Found them all in a dollar bin one day, just sitting in there. And I was like, you got to be kidding me, you know? So I picked all those up and those, sold. Yeah. Absolutely. I find stuff all the time, but yeah, I sold those for, those sets, I put all those sets together and, it's like I sold like the first series for, um, gosh, something like 150 bucks or more. It was something ridiculous like that, and the other ones or whatever. And then I had there were some trees in there that I sold all of them, and so that was a pretty good find one day.
yeah.
Um,
In in
you just never know, you
our
know.
local brick and mortar LCS
Mhm.
does a deal on the dollar bins where it's 10 for 12 or 12 for
That's
$10.
correct. Yep.
Yeah. So
And you can, like I said, and I'm friends with the owner there as well. And so, he'll tell me when he gets, it's like I go in, I'll say, "Hey, how you doing?" He'll say, and I say, "You got another collection coming in?" And he'll tell me when he's coming in, and he'll say, "Yeah, I should have it out by such and such a time. Come by and see me." And I go in, and if there's something in there I like, um, I do. I go in and I check it out. And I found that was another thing. I found like a near almost every issue of the Care Bears in there. Okay. You think, oh, the Care Bears, yeah. Well, they're all, 15, $20 books. And they were all in
right.
like high grade condition, I've only got a couple of them left. So you have to know what you're looking for as well. I think that's one of the things
Yeah,
as well, you know?
I have a little story that involves you that deals with me not knowing what I'm looking for at
Mhm.
times. Because there was one time I was in the shop with Ron where we were there at the same time, and I picked up a book, put it aside. The book, and he picked it up and put it in a stack because the book that I picked up was Toxic Avengers #1, and I just set it aside, not realizing. And Ron picked it up, like, yeah, you should have got this. And I'm sure you've already sold that one by now.
Probably sold that Toxic Avengers. I think it was a newsstand copy too, if I remember correctly. It
Yeah.
was probably a
So
newsstand Toxic Avenger #1. Yeah, I think I sold that one a while ago. Matter of fact, I just got another. I
yeah.
just got I bought recently on a Whatnot auction. There was a lot of Toxic Avenger, and it was also had one couple of the other issues, and actually had a couple issues of Toxic Crusader to include number Toxic Crusader #1, or Toxic Crusaders, I should say. And
Okay.
so yeah, so I, you know, just gotta, you look for deals where you can find them.
Oh yeah.
So
Um. So what is the biggest challenge you see, or that you're facing as a comic book reseller right now?
for me, whew, getting stuff out the door to the customer. Um,
Okay.
I,
Yeah, shipping is not the easiest thing.
no, it is not. And if anybody, especially the way we do it, because one of the things we did was we invest very heavily into our shipping materials, and we have a very strict process in how we do things, and so getting stuff out on time, like I said, this is not my full-time job. It is a full-time job, but it's not my regular job. I still work for the Air Force full time. Um, and so I actually have two people who work for me now, part time, and just getting stuff out the door um, is tough. Um, that's the challenge right now. It's not, and keeping up with everything is a challenge. I think that's our
And
biggest
I can
issue.
tell everybody that Ron has, like, when it comes to the shipping materials that you need, or for if you buy one book, he has what he needs to ship it. If you buy 50 books, he
Hmm.
has what he needs to ship it to you adequately and keep it protected. So
Yeah, that's
Ron goes above and beyond when it comes to shipping.
yeah. I have a theory. If you buy a dollar book from me, I'm gonna ship it like like it's a 15 or $20 book. I don't care. It's about getting it to you safe. Does it always make it? No, I can't control the delivery services. Um,
Right.
it's things happen. Even the best packaging will get destroyed. Um,
Once it leaves your house, it's in God's hands
yeah. So it's
and the United Postal Service.
yes, and which they're not bad, but they can be at times. But for the most part,
Right.
it's you do the best you can. Um, but you have to invest in it, and you know, and I think that's what we've done. I think that our feedback on eBay and stuff like that for our packaging, as a result of that. So
So where do you see the comic resale market going over the next few years?
that's a very good question. A couple of years ago, I might have said, "Hey, this is where I didn't know where we were going to go with, mainly because of digital comics." I was starting to get a little bit, especially for new books. Then COVID hit, and then all of a sudden we had this massive like resurgence in comic book sales, especially back issues and things like that.
Right.
We're kind of um, it seems like we've hit kind of an equilibrium point right now. We're kind of back to I think pre-COVID type numbers. I think I would have to really look that up to see. Um, but I think you know I think we're doing okay. I think it can be strong. I think unfortunately, there's probably not going to be as many, brick and mortar stores out there. I think there's going to be a lot more online type stuff that's going to go
Right.
on. Everybody's shifting kind of towards that again, and we lost you again.
I don't know that after, I mean, I've been doing this for months now, and that's the first time it's ever happened in a show, and it happened twice. So
Oh no, it must be
yeah,
me. Um, yeah.
wish
So
that was a quick reconnect, but
yeah. Uh,
um, so you think that the brick and mortar stores might be falling by the wayside eventually?
Yeah, I mean, I've been looking into it. I'd love to own a brick and mortar store. I'd love to get all this stuff out of my home. I really would.
Right.
And I've actually been talking to it with another guy here locally, about joining forces to do it. But real estate around here and commercial leases and stuff like that, it's outrageous.
Yeah, I mean,
We're
I can't imagine right now that, I mean, with the what it costs for you to buy the shipping materials that you have and the
Mhm.
inventory in general, you probably don't have the biggest margins at the
No.
moment.
Mm-mm. No,
So
no,
then
no.
trying
We're
to
we're
fit
you
on
know
what?
yeah, no, we're breaking even about which about breaking even. We're not making money here. So,
Right.
you
So,
know,
and then trying to fit in the rent and then
hmm
insurance on top of that and utilities. I mean, you
yeah.
don't, that's a lot to try to cover
Yeah,
on top of that.
rent is outrageous in this area.
Right.
It doesn't help that we are a tourist area.
Yeah.
Um, so it's yeah, there's no reason to take on overhead I don't need, but at the same time, I'm looking at actually, retirement from my job here in a couple of years, and so I'm trying to figure out,
Well, you're also trying to
I want to
reclaim
just,
some of your house.
yeah, I want to reclaim my home as far as that goes. So that's part of the problem right now. I want to reclaim. It turned into a monster. What started off as trying to give myself and my now departed wife something to do. Um, in addition, kind of just turned into this um, monstrosity um, that just kind of got out of control. And unfortunately, I like buying comics. I like reading them, and I like selling them too. It's just a lot of work,
Hmm.
and it's as they say, this is more than a side hustle. Uh, it's just a hustle. Um,
An interesting idea, or I don't know if
mhm,
it's interesting idea, but an idea that just popped into my head. Maybe buy a space or rent a space bigger than what you would actually physically need square foot wise,
mhm.
but then sublease out make your own antique shop with your comic book store inside it,
Yeah.
kind of like
Hmm.
um, the market down the street
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
has. And
I've thought about something like that, having just like a big place where I could do that, and then have selling bays and things like that where people could come in and
yeah, I mean, so
do
they
that.
could
So,
cover those places
mhm,
could help cover the overhead.
right.
Yeah. All
So
right. Um, but I mean, the online side of selling comic books is not going anywhere. I mean,
no, I don't think
that's
so.
going to be the new norm going forward.
Yeah, I think it is a new norm. I think that uh, I wish that I wish I was more adept at website design and things like that. I would love to have more of a you know an ability to have like a better website. My website's okay, but I'd love to have more of a website where you could actually kind of interact more. I think we're getting to the point where I think with AI and things like that, I think we're going to start seeing more, probably more virtual online stores and things like that. I think that that's kind of coming where people are going to be able to almost like take a virtual tour
Okay.
of stores and things like that. I think that's going to be interesting. I think that is probably where um, potentially the future of retail is going to go, where people can possibly comic books and some other things and stuff like that. But you'll be able to go visit your favorite store, no matter what it is. Whether you're wearing goggles or even online, and it'll be just like you're walking into the store. Going up to if if it's a comic book store, you go into a bin and say, okay, I want to look at this bin, and then it'll look like you're rifling through a box of comics. I honestly, I think that that's the way it's going to go. And I think we're gonna get into things. I think we're still 20, 30 years away from it, but almost instant delivery with drones and
No, don't
things
say
like
that.
that.
That personally affects me. Don't say that.
You gotta learn how to fix them. You gotta learn how to
Yeah.
fix them. and program them and all that other stuff, you know. So, but
Um,
yeah, I think that's kind of the way we're going to go. And if I had the ability to do all that programming or find someone to do it, I would love to have some type of virtual store like that where, you know, you could go in and it looked like someone you do a box of comics, you know, and
well, you never know what you might
something
be able
like
to
that.
vibe code with AI here in the next couple of years.
Yeah, you never know. Just, you know, something like that. So, but that's always, you know, that's for the younger folks to figure out. I can, you know, I can give somebody some ideas and hopefully maybe someone smart will come along and figure that part out.
All right, got just a couple more questions for you. Uh,
Okay.
do you go to very many conventions or local comic shows?
No, I don't. I haven't been to any in I don't know, I can't even remember how long now. So just I would love to start doing more. My daughter actually does conventions for me in her area. She lives over in the Tampa area.
Okay.
She comes up and she gets inventory for me, and um, she actually runs like the convention side of my business as far as that goes, if you want to call it that. It's maybe more for her than anything else, but it gets our name out there and you know, at least to her area, and we've picked up some business as a result
Okay.
from it. So, but yeah, she goes out and she'll come up and she'll I'll give her a few box of comics or some toys or whatever the case may be, and yeah, she does conventions in her area because Tampa area and things like that just seem to have a lot more um, those types of things than we do up here. So everything we
Yeah.
have to do, you know, it's like 8 hours, 9 hours to get to anything around here other than Pensacon.
Yeah.
So
Um, so I think earlier you said you had like 300 plus long boxes.
yeah, I think numbered we're up to 379 is what we're, you know, probably more. And you know, as I push more into storage,
All right.
that number is
So
going to
then
grow. So three, they're out in
my
the, here in the
question that goes along
house.
with that is, how do you handle inventory management? Do you have a system or is it just organized chaos?
No, we have a system. So anything that we have on our website or whatever um, is specifically tagged. So every single week. So how we do is when I check in new inventory, I think we talked about earlier. Um, the app I have for managing subscriptions and checking in new product is called Manage Comics. And when I check in all that new product and it goes into the website, I add a tag to everything. Okay, so and we tag it by the week that it comes in. So all our boxes are all of the new inventory is tagged by the week it comes in. Then generally after about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks of selling that product, we then and so that we've consolidated everything down as much as possible. We then number the boxes and we add another tag to those boxes as far as that goes. So that's where the numbered boxes come. It's like I've got, you know, just to the right of me here, I've got 4 box or 3 boxes of from this past week that we just consolidated down after all the pulls and everything like that. We still have more, and once that's consolidated down, pretty much as far as you know, it'll go until the sales from those boxes kind of slows down. Then it'll get a box tag because you know because we reuse the boxes as we
Right.
go along. It's like I consolidated down like one of the boxes tonight, so now we have an empty box to use for next week's new product to put into. So, and that's how we do that. Um, Back issues and stuff like that, new stuff I generally have up on top of the shelves. I have I just alphabetize them in a box or something like that. So, but
But on
yeah,
your
no.
back issues that you like when you bring in when you pick up a collection,
Oh
do
no, that's
you
just organized chaos.
Okay.
That's just complete chaos. What
'Cause
I
I'm
try to do is as we get stuff, as I go along, I try to each box I try to alphabetize at least. So if I have like I have a whole bunch of stuff downstairs right now that I've just recently purchased. So I'm going to go through and I'll slowly alphabetize those all into one box, and then I'll move them off to the side until it's time to do something with them
oh,
here in the future. But then I have, like some bigger books and things like that I have in certain boxes, and all those boxes are alphabetized as far as that goes. So I don't know what's in most of them anymore, but we try to keep them alphabetized at least in the individual
yeah,
boxes.
I've tried to keep organized with the
Hmm.
collection or little things that I've
Hmm.
picked up, and then when I sold them on Whatnot, was trying to remember how much I sold it for versus what I paid for it. But
Hmm.
that's too big of a challenge, especially if you're doing a random show.
Right.
And so,
Exactly. Yeah, I don't remember
no,
how much I paid for stuff half the time anymore, so I just have to go with whatever the current market is because unfortunately, you lose money on stuff sometimes.
right,
That's just it's like I've paid a bunch of money for a book, and then you realize, oh my gosh, it just dropped 50% in price. No one's paying that much for it anymore,
yeah.
and that happens. So you have to get what you can for it, and you move on.
All right. So in the new releases that come out, what are some trends that you're seeing right now? What are people liking, like the foil variants, facsimiles, or the blind bags? I mean, what's hot for Ron's Comic Closet?
Right now, blind bags, there was an initial burst of those, but I'm not sure if they're going to do real well or not. I think the Mark Spears did not do as well as everybody thought it was going to do. What was the one that was right before that? Um,
The blind is a
like the DC
Batman.
blind, the Batman ones, I think did okay.
I
Yeah, the
actually, there's
Batman ones.
actually a guy that he is a I'm a subscriber to his
Hmm.
channel. He's a subscriber to mine. Sector 2815. He's been a
Uh huh.
past guest on the show. He pulled the gold. He did the
Oh
blind as
wow.
a bat, and he got the gold
Hmm.
uh, foil variant of that one, and then he sold
Yeah.
it that weekend for four figures or something like that.
Hey, if you can get it. Yeah, I sold out of mine. I didn't order a ton of them on the Batmans. I ordered a bunch of the Mark Spears. We sold all but like 8 of them that I ordered. I think we didn't order a ton of them. There are a bunch of other ones coming out now. Marvel's just announced, I think, their first one with Daredevil. I think that one's actually going to do okay because it'll be the first Marvel one.
Yeah.
I think that
Do you think the true believer label that they're putting on? Do you think that's going to hurt it or help it? Because wasn't True Believers like a reprint
Yeah,
header at some
I
point?
think I think that's probably a bad choice for it if they do that. Hopefully they won't do that, and they'll just say, "Hey, Daredevil blind bag." I think that's the smart thing to
Okay.
do here. Um, I also think what else is selling here? People love the foil variants. Generally, especially with DC. Marvel does real well too. Both Marvel foil variants do pretty well. Unfortunately, with the Marvel variants, I have to price them higher because the Penguin Random House, who's the distributor for them, they don't give you the standard discount like they do for their other books on foil variants. So you're forced to increase the price on them above cover price. So it's like I'll just tell you, it's like 16% off cover price. So versus if you're a reseller from Penguin Random House, if I don't know if you know this or not, but everybody gets 50% off, and the reason that is because they offer free shipping. So it's 50% off for everybody. So if you're a reseller, but for some reason the foils from Marvel specifically, it's only 16% off. That's a decision that they made. So it generally increases the price to, I put them out at $9.99. They generally all sell, but unlike the DC foils, which I think come out at $7.99 each, and they do real well. So the foil covers. So facsimiles, we do real well with facsimiles. It's not uncommon for us to get an order between 5 and 15, just nothing but facsimiles, especially the DC facsimiles.
Right.
Just very, very consistent sellers for us. I think I found the right formula, because they come out with foil versions of them as well. So I found, and they usually do a blank version. So if you want to go out and to a con and get a drawing on them, or so, something like that. So I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, they're, are they going to go up in value? Probably, no, they're going to stay at the same price. They're going to probably remain cover price. But you know, some of the bigger books. I think they're doing a Killing Joke reprint here. I think I just saw advertised.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna finish up my ordering tonight, so I don't have to do it tomorrow. But I know I saw like they're gonna do a reprint of the Killing Joke.
Is that
I
going to
also
have
want
a
to say I
foil
think I
cover
saw
too?
Batman 423 being reprinted.
Oh, okay.
So
That's the
I think I
McFarlane
saw
one,
that as
right?
well. Yeah, the McFarlane one. Yeah. So there's going to be a facsimile of that as well, I think.
Okay.
So, but those do pretty well as far as that goes. And then other, in general, some of the variants we do real well with the um, things like the Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy variants, especially, and the Wonder Woman variants.
Good girl
Especially
art.
the girls, yes. In all honesty, there's some really great artists out there who are doing some really good covers right now. Um, there's one is a Homare, Homare. I do not know how to pronounce it, but their art is. Um, I get orders a lot of times, and it'll be nothing but from that artist. It'd be all variant covers. I mean, going back even a couple of years, I didn't even remember that they did a variant for that particular book. We just got one. It was like a 10, 11 book order, or something like that, and it was nothing but those. So we have a lot of people who come to Spawn. Spawn sells real well for us. A matter of fact, I just had a 55 book Spawn order that I just sent to Anchorage, Alaska. Matter of fact, I just
Oh,
went
okay.
out today, as a matter of fact. Just the Spawn variants and things like that. But yeah, so it's it, we sell so much. We sell such a variety of things, and I think that's what we strive for. We want to make sure that everybody has, access to these variants and these different covers. And they don't all sell; they're not all great, but we try to make sure we have something for everybody.
Right.
So, but people definitely have. So let me tell you, I can always tell you, whether it's Peach Momoko one week, whether it's David Nakayama the next, or um, yeah, everybody has their favorite, Nathan Zerdy, or it just really depends,
Right.
It's not uncommon to have a 10 book order. It's like, oh, it's all the same artist this week. So
So here's a question, or since you're a shop owner and that, real quick, what would you say is the best-selling DC book right now, in your opinion?
oh, Absolute Batman.
Absolute Batman. Okay.
Absolute Batman, by far.
All right. Best-selling Marvel book right now.
Oh, that's a good one. Um,
Sorry, people. These were not in the prepared questions, so I am putting Ron on the spot a little bit, right?
oh, probably still Spider-Man, whether it be a combination of Spider-Man and Ultimate Spider-Man.
Okay.
Um, Ultimate Spider-Man still sells very well. Regular Amazing Spider-Man sells very well.
Still pisses people off, but it still sells.
It it still sells.
Yeah.
I mean, I still order the same amount of copies, and I sell out just about every single week. So, Ultimate Spider-Man. I'm sorry, what else? I'm trying to think what was big from Marvel this week. I can't remember off the top of my head,
Okay.
but yeah.
So
But
Webhead, the Spider-Man's basically the bestseller.
oh yeah, any of the Spider books, Spider related books, Spider-Man, the Venoms. Um, it's got Eddie Brock Carnage that does pretty well. Um, yeah, it's all the Ultimates. See, the X-Men still sell well. All those books. You've got the whole Age of they're redoing the Age of Apocalypse storylines type of
Yeah.
thing right now, and that's doing pretty decently. Um, so it's the whole storyline, the Age of Revelation, and now I think Age of Apocalypse just came out. So, and then you've got a whole bunch of new X titles. So, but the Ultimates, the whole Ultimate Universe thing, I think is still a good consistent seller as well. With the Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Black Panther, the Ultimates or Ultimate X-Men. Ultimate X-Men, I'm still surprised at how well and consistently it sells. So it does pretty good.
Okay. Um, and what about Image? What would be the best-selling Image book right
Image,
now? Or I guess should we do Image regular and then Image Skybound, or then
well, altogether, Transformers, since it's an Image now, um, Transformers does extremely well. Spawn, you never go wrong with Spawn.
okay?
Invincible Battle Beast did incredible.
That might be a good
Um,
slogan for a T-shirt. You'll never go wrong with Spawn.
yeah, you might as well just say it. All the Spawn titles are usually fairly consistent. Um, it's at least for me anyway. I mean, it's like it's real strange because like one week might not sell anything. It's like I'll sell. I won't. It won't be a big selling week for like Spawn or Gunslinger Spawn or Spawn Rat City or whatever it may be. This week, I think it was the Spawn. I saw Santa Spawn something or other, So, um, and then all of a sudden, I'll get all these big, huge Spawn orders, and it cleans me out of stuff. So, it's we just sell them. We don't really increase the price on them. I don't really jack up the prices or anything like that. Matter of fact, most everything, the new books and stuff like that, unless it's something like it's extremely, extremely hot, I usually don't, go beyond cover price for a lot of things. So I just don't, I don't have time to reprice everything. So
Right.
sometimes you can come to and like a lot of times, it's like, you get that key collector alert, and sometimes I'll get it. And literally from the time I've got to my phone, I'm looking at my phone, it's like, oh, well, I'm going to see it's like, I know I have some of these. They're already sold off the website or off of eBay. So it's like, and that's fine. I'm glad somebody's getting a deal, and if they can turn around and flip it and
Right.
make some money, more power to them.
Yeah.
Glad I
Uh,
could provide it for them because that means they're going to come back and look at the website. They're going to come back and look at eBay later on, and hopefully they'll come back, and hopefully we've you know done the right thing by them, and
right.
got their books to them in good condition, and they'll come back and spend more money with us later on. So it's better to have
And
that goodwill than trying to make. It's not, sometimes it's not worth making an extra $5. You know, so
right.
I'd rather have a long term customer than try to make an extra $5.
How's the Hanna-Barbera Dynamite stuff doing for you?
Um, Herculoids has done pretty well. That was kind of surprising to me. Um, I was actually kind of surprised at that one. Blue Falcon and Dynamite has not done as well as I thought it was going to. But the Herculoids and who else we have? I think those are the only
Space
two.
Ghost.
Oh, no, Space Ghost has done phenomenal. Space
Okay.
Ghost has done phenomenal. Okay.
And I
The
like the
first
way they're doing
series,
that one with the seasons
yeah. So
instead of
I've
volumes.
read actually read the first few issues of that one, of the original, the first season, so I knew what was going on. So I had an understanding of it. And it's like, okay, I like this. This is pretty good. Um, but the new ones, the Herculoids and Blue Falcon and Dynamite. Herculoids has done well. Blue Falcon done all right. But not as well as I thought it was. Space Ghost does real well. Um, Dynamite's where the variant covers and things like that really come into play. There are a lot of people who are very big fans of like Perillo's art, Joseph Michael Linzer's art, and Francesco Mattino's art. There are just people are just crazy about that. And Bjorn Barons is another one. I always order extra of his stuff because, especially on the Space Ghost stuff, I don't know if you've seen some of those variants. The Bjorn Barons one, it's like, my goodness, that's just some incredible stuff right there. Um, so he's done some really nice work. Done some nice Spawn covers too, if you find them as
Okay.
well. But yeah, people really seem to enjoy those particular artists, and Joseph Linzer, it's like I'm not a huge fan of his artwork, but I'll tell you what, though, people love him. People absolutely love him, and so yeah.
All right. And last question for you. Is there any advice that you would give to someone who's thinking about trying to get into the, I guess, resell or comic book uh, retail business?
Think long and hard about it. Do your research. Um, it's it's not as easy as it looks. A lot of people, think that a lot of people will think that you are, um, especially if you have people think that you're a lot bigger than you are. And everybody thinks that you're Amazon. That as soon as you have an order, that you have a full logistics system behind you with trucks and people and robots and everything. So temper your expectations
Right.
um, as far as that goes. You can only do so much. Um, have if you're going to decide to do it, make sure you have processes in place, develop them, learn from all your mistakes. You're going to make a lot of them. Try new things. Um, it's more expensive than you think it is. Um, so if you're going to do it, and if you want to do it, you want to do it right. Everything from business licenses to your inventory to heck, just the fee to keep your website open every month. You know is It's expensive. So there's a lot more expenses that go into it. And I'll tell you one of the things they don't tell you: the amount of trash that you generate. Okay, the amount of boxes that you generate every week. My recycle bin is full, and I still can't keep it. I have a garage full of boxes that, oh my goodness, it's horrible. Um, and you might think that's a little bit funny, but it's a consideration. And if you're not ready for it, and all of a sudden, you realize that, when you get, if you decide to carry new issues and you're getting 2,000 books a week, that's a lot of boxes that
Right.
come in every single week. And then you have boxes that your boxes to ship stuff come in. Um, so, and it all gets, it all ties in. It's a lot of work.
Right.
You can have a great time with it. Um, the, the most fun you have is, of course, sourcing, the comics. It's, if you're, yeah, it's you know, it's a lot of work. You can have fun with it. It's very frustrating. Expect people are not always going to agree with you. Um, it took me a long. I take things very personally. If I can't, if I do something wrong, if we get a book wrong, um, if we get a book wrong, you know, um, and we have to refund somebody's money, it's expensive. If you mess up, it's expensive to fix. Um, my mail carrier, actually, she lives right around the corner from me. I am excellent friends with her. She comes to pick up from my house, I am out there helping her. Okay, she gets a Christmas gift from me every year. I take care of my mail. They all know me at the local post office here. I make everything as easy on them as I possibly can. And it's like I even got friends with the local postmaster for a while. He's now gone. We just got a new postmaster here. But yeah, it's like I know my mail lady here, Catherine. She is wonderful. She's been our mail lady now for years, and my friend. She's not my mail lady. She's a neighbor who lives right on the corner from me. But yeah, I make sure I'm out there helping her. I unload. I help her put them into the vehicle when on the days that I'm here, and yeah. So have those scan sheets if you're selling, you know, don't make your post office scan every one of your packages. Learn how to use scan sheets and stuff like that. Be friendly with your post office. They will help you out. Learn the postal system as well. Learn how to do all that tracking stuff. Learn how to do missing mail searches and all that other stuff to make sure you help your customer out. So, but yeah.
Yep.
So,
Very true, Kung Fu.
mhm.
All right. Ron, is there anything that you want to plug or give a shout out to? What's your next Whatnot show coming up?
So we have a Whatnot show coming up on this coming Saturday, which is December 6th, I believe.
December, yeah, 6. Yes, 6.
Yeah, December 6th at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time.
And Ron
So
username is right there on the bottom. Ron's Comic Closet
yeah,
on
yeah,
Whatnot.
everything is Ron's Comic Closet, no matter if it's on Facebook, Instagram, or website. You can go to ronscomiccloset.com. You don't even have to have the dashes. So I have it set up so it's either Rons-comic-closet.com, or you just put ronscomiccloset.com, all one word. Check out our website. We're greatly appreciative of everybody who comes and buys something from us, and we try to help everybody um, that we can. And thank you for having me on tonight. I
Oh,
greatly
you're welcome.
appreciate the opportunity. So
Thank you. Thank you for coming on and being the first guest on the Comics to Cash live stream. Like I
yeah,
said, I'll be doing those, try to do those every other week when I can find somebody that's willing to talk about the process of selling comics.
okay,
I have coming up next week, I am going to be interviewing Rob's Fat Stacks of Comics on the Comic Channel Origins live stream. So that'll be next Sunday night at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. And then I'll be getting out some new videos later this week. Got the wrong there. That's the right one. No, going across there. I had last week's ticker going across this scene. So, but yes, please check out. Come to next week's Comic Channel Origins with Rob's Fat Stacks of Comics. Should be a fun one. And that's all I have for y'all. So we're out of here. Thank you very much, Ron.
bye everybody.